As a widow, what rights do I have to my house on family land? Located in Georgia. My husband of 12 years passed away from cancer in December 2022. Our house was built on his parents' land in 1998 right next door to his parents. We even share a driveway. The house was paid for with cash. Never financed. If there is a deed to the house, it was never in my late husband's name. Though he asked for it many times while he was alive, his father refused to give it to him, stating he was protecting family property. Since it was built, we've always paid the property taxes, all of the utilities are in our name, and we've made many enhancements to the house. When my son was born, I took out a loan from my 401k and we added another bathroom. With all of that being said, I've been dating someone that I know I will have a long, beautiful future with, and the in-laws are not happy about it at all. They've told me that certain people are not welcome on our property and have even threatened to call the police. I have obviously ignored their demands and threats, but I only feel like this will get worse as my new relationship grows. Ideally, I would want to sell the house and move on to another place where my kids and I can continue our happy life without having to worry about the neighbors. I'm going to contact a lawyer this week. Any advice on what type of lawyer I should call or what rights I do actually have? You need a lawyer. This is a huge mess. If there was never a deed executed to your husband, then your former in-laws own the property. You very well may have no legal interest in the property whatsoever. It sounds like you paid for a property for your in-laws. You should definitely reach out to a lawyer to see if you have any ground to stand on at all, but I'd expect it to be expensive to litigate. Additionally, you should probably start looking for somewhere else to live. If they evict you, you'll have trouble finding somewhere nice. A title search would be a cheap way to start finding out who owns the plot and its history. Get a real estate lawyer. Our house was built on his parents' land in 1998 right next door to his parents. We even share a driveway. The house was paid for with cash. I'm trying to reconcile these statements. Who paid for the house to be built in 1998? When did you and your husband of 12 years move into this house? When you say the house was paid for with cash, paid by whom to whom? A deed will likely be recorded. Start there. But it definitely sounds like you have no legal right to the property. You should probably get this dealt with ASAP and start looking to move. Don't think your in-laws will be kind, considering it seems like they probably think you moved on too fast. I'm in the middle of my deceased husband's family farm. We had our land deeded to us before we built. Also in Georgia. After my husband died, part of his family was extremely sympathetic and helpful. Others mounted an effort to force me out of my house. You are in a horribly uncomfortable situation. I'm not sure you can legally claim what should be your house. I feel for you and really hope you can work something out. You need a lawyer who specializes in real estate. Check the website of the GA Bar. Talk to a local rebroker, they usually have an attorney they use regularly. Your father-in-law is shady. Don't tell him anything. Let the lawyer handle all of it. It doesn't even sound like this house is legally there. There's no deed to the house because there is no deed. Did they split the plot and build this home with permits? Do you have an individual APN number? How did you pay the property taxes? Did you get a letter from the town showing what you owed, when to pay, etc.? Usually, the tax bills list the owner on the bill. Or did you pay your in-laws an amount they told you to pay? Either way, make sure you find those receipts. They could help in a number of ways. So if the home was built in 98, which would have been 12 years before you all got married, did your husband pay his parents for the home? If you can find records of the transaction, you might have a leg to stand on. It's kinda confusing, since if the house was built in 98, what does that have to do with the story? Sounds like the former in-laws are the actual owners of the property if you cannot locate a deed. If that is so, then you don't have any grounds to sell the home. Lawyer here. The only legal advice you should ever ask for or take from the internet is this: go get a lawyer. You don't own the house. Your husband didn't own the house. You can't sell what you don't own. Consult a lawyer. You need a good, experienced real estate attorney. You may be left without rights, but you may at least have an opportunity to settle for some portion of the value of the improvements. A lot of the likelihood of settlement will stem from the relative strengths and weaknesses of yours and your in-laws' cases and the cost of continuing litigation. If what they really want is for you to move out of the property, they may be willing to pay you something to do that. It's entirely possible you and your late husband paid for the dwelling, but don't have a deed because your in-laws own the land the house is on. Do you have any way to prove you guys paid for the house? Bank records, receipts from the lumber company, or anything along those lines? How are you paying taxes on it? Tax in your name or the parents'? Are you and parents paying taxes on the same plot of land? Get a lawyer. This is a mess. Apart from that, the fact that you and your late spouse agreed to this makes you both idiots. Looks like your father-in-law didn't want his property subdivided so strangers couldn't move into the property. From my viewpoint, he played it smart. You can live there and have a house, but you can't sell when you leave. I'd suggest a matrimonial attorney. OP needs to know if state law vested in her legal or equitable rights to the property either by way of marriage or her contribution to the maintenance and upkeep. Also, OP should immediately go to the Land Records Division of the County Clerk's office and pull a copy of the deed to the property, probably a minimal fee. The deed will tell her who owns the land and whether her house sits on its own lot or was built on her in-laws' lot. Local tax assessor's office might help determine this as well. This will weigh heavily on the extent to which she has rights to the property or house. Technically sounds like the land is likely in a trust. They allowed your husband to live there but no deed because there was no division or intent to sell the property. It's not your house. My family did the same with family farm. Relatives were allowed to live on it but have no legal claim. They did not ask you to improve, add on, etc. You did that on your own and it doesn't give you legal claim to their property. If you are moving on with your life, leave their property alone. You need to probate your husband's estate. If the property and home were never his, though it's not yours. Sounds like you and your kids are just going to have to move if you want to pursue that new relationship. We're all together for years and then married later. House is 25 years old and marriage is 12 years old. When I was offered the opportunity to build a home on my in-laws' land, I politely told them over their dead body. Ask a lawyer. If they want to push you out of the house, then move on and cut contact. If they want to force you and their grandchildren out, then they shouldn't get the right to see your kids. Play stupid games and win stupid prizes. You need an attorney. There's a potential for adverse possession here since you've been paying the taxes already, but you really need an attorney who understands land law. If there is not a deed or anything that says this is you or your husband's property, then you were just tenants. Sadly, I don't think it's yours to sell. Contact an attorney in my country, not the USA. If you pay taxes on a property for a certain number of years, there is a way for you to claim ownership rights. It's not easy and there are certain stipulations, and it does take a long time, but proving that you have been paying taxes for the prescribed number of years is the first step in making such a claim. Your Phil fucked you. This is the exact scenario he was protecting from. This sounds like a hot-ass mess. I'd start making phone calls to lawyers first thing Monday morning. I have a suspicion that they never deeded your late husband the parcel. If that happens to be the case, then you might be able to prove ownership of the house by way of building permits and licenses. Again, this sounds like a hot mess. Call a lawyer. You will have to go to probate court to assess the value of the contested property and how it should be allocated. Take all records with you, from construction costs to paid taxes.